Jamaicans think that you guys play the victim a lot. Like an outsider looking in, it's like, gosh, them complain about everything. Look how much opportunity them have. Look how them can work. Look how them can buy $1 burger.
They have a powerful victim mindset that was installed by the government. So they bring you into school and they teach you that black history is slave history, which is wrong. Black history is not slave history. That's the problem. So you're automatically being taught at a young age that you are owed something, that your people aren't shit, your ancestors aren't shit.
Stop. The story is not victim mentality. I'm not a victim, right? And you're not going to shame people who have been victimized to not talk about it, because that's what people are trying to do. We've been human trafficked, right? Kidnapped, like just the worst things that you can imagine if we really spell it out, right? And then forced to work, not for a year, not for 4 years, not for 20 years, 4 centuries. Forget about it. Yeah, it is a long time ago. Yeah, you're always talking about it. Yes, run me my bag, baby. And don't tell me what to do with it.
Just complaining. You got the victim mentality. You know, your handlers and your gatekeepers keep stirring you up, stirring the pot, keep you stuck in the hamster wheel that goes round and round, and you still too blind to see.
Now, hold on. Did you hear everything that was just said? On one side, you've got immigrants and even some black conservatives saying that black Americans have a victim mentality, saying they complain too much, blame the system, blame white people, and refuse to take accountability. But on the other side, you've got black Americans saying, no, you don't understand the history, and you definitely don't understand how the history still shows up today. And this is where the real tension begins, because this is not just a simple argument about mindset. This is a deeper conversation about history, about systems, and about two completely different lived experiences inside the same country. So are black Americans really playing the victim? Or are people on the outside judging the story they don't really understand? In this video, we're going to look at both sides, starting with immigrants calling it out and black Americans responding. And then we will come back at the end and break it all down. Let's get into it.
Black Americans have a recorded tendency of throwing rocks and hiding their hands and then playing victim when they're called out for their lack of education as Americans, not as black people, but as Americans.
Immigrants coming to America, y'all do not know the whole black American story, nor do y'all know the history, nor do y'all understand or know the politics of of America in general.
I am so sick and tired of hearing the same thing, meaning that this victim mentality that's in the black community, I about had it, man. I'm so sick and tired of hearing it. And to be honest with you, I bet a lot of these folks probably live, some of them, not all, but the ones that can afford it, I guarantee you, they probably live in a white neighborhood, mixed neighborhood that's nice and have all the amenities, nice parks. I don't know of too many black folks that's hardworking, wants to run to the hood to live.
Really? You think 300 plus years of passing down our survival and trauma-based culture leaves no psychological impact to the afflicted and those afflicting, or living in systems built to harm and objectify us doesn't create real systemic challenges today? Right.
I say you coming into this country as an immigrant, you get more benefits and you get more opportunities than we do. We have to work twice as hard. There's more leeway towards you than us. We just want to be accepted as humans, as individuals, have the same rights and opportunities as everybody else.
That's what they mean by we're victim-minded and we're entitled as black people. We can insult everybody else openly and freely. We come in people's establishments loud. We are some of the most disrespectful people known to humankind on earth, because in any other places they would dispel us.
But our excuse is we've been through so much.
We ain't been through shit. Who is we? They, the nigga, have been through shit. The nigga ain't been through nothing. He got free education. He got to go skating. He got to say, F you white people. He got to talk back to the police. The nigga never had that opportunity.
But you don't think that still affects us today?
Okay, so what did your grandparents go through that affected you, that you don't know nothing about?
My grandma picked cotton in South Carolina.
How did that affect you?
It did.
There you go. So how can you say what the slave went through affected you? The things that affect you are not from 400 years ago. It's at least to your grandmother or your great-grandparents. So have you went and sat down to your bloodline and your lineage, your mama and father, your grandmother, grandfather, on both sides, mother and father side. If you ain't done that, don't tell me shit about what a slave went through when you don't know your father's mother. That's a cop-out and an excuse for detrimental behavior that we accept and promote.
It's not victimhood, it's memory. And you only call it victimhood because we refuse to forget what you get to ignore. See, there's this lie of victimhood addiction. And here's really the truth. The system calls you a victim when you remember too loudly. When black people name the patterns, when we track the pain, when we cite the receipts, they don't say you're right. They say you're stuck. They say you're playing the victim. But who gave us the pain in the first place? Who refuses to repair it? Who builds their peace on our silence? They tell us to stop talking about slavery while they cash in the checks from what slavery built. And see that what they call victimhood is just unprocessed grief. This ain't victimhood. This ain't nothing like that. It's the ache of living in a world that sees your beauty and wants your suffering. It's the exhaustion of explaining why your son shouldn't be a hashtag. It's the fatigue of success that never feels safe. This isn't playing victim. It's carrying memory that no one else helped us bury. That's exactly what happened. We didn't inherit victimhood. We inherited unresolved justice. That's all that happened. Unresolved justice. That's all we inherited. And then there's this projection of guilt that roams deep. When white society, or even black conservatives, I'll even lump y'all in. When y'all say y'all always play victim, what they're really saying is stop reminding me of what I haven't made right. Victim blaming isn't just a tactic. It's a defense mechanism against accountability. I want you guys to understand it correctly. We don't want to be victims. We want to be whole. And they only let us speak when we're pretending we're healed. That's the only time. Right? But then, you wanna know what it's costing us? The dangerous cost of moving on and the pressure to get over it is what keeps us under it. You can't heal what you're not allowed to name. You can't rise while dragging 400 years of suppressed screams. When black folks don't move on fast enough, they say we're bitter. When we do move on too fast, they say we're ungrateful. So which is it? It's just a good question. Here's the truth. We're not victims, we're carriers. We carry the grief so old it has a spine, and a memory so sharp it doesn't bleed, it cuts clean. We're not over-identifying with pain. No. That's not what's going on. We're metabolizing pain the world keeps feeding us. And doing it with brilliance, doing it with rhythm, doing it with power. You don't get to call us victims until you stop being architects of the wound. That's just the truth.
I also don't like the term playing the victim because it does sound like you're alluding to something that is not real. Mm-hmm. And I think if we, I'm not dismissing or negating the effects of 400 years of oppression. Sure. And, the things that we've seen and been through. I'm not dismissing any of that. But if we cut it all off and we started with a year ago, we are still being victimized by the stuff you have to see on TV. You have African-American boys who at the age of 11 or 12, all they have ever seen were African-American boys being killed on TV. Mm-hmm. That's all they've ever seen. They've not known the life without it because they've watched this happen since they've been old enough to understand. Mm-hmm. They are victims.
We've always been taught if they build a bridge that's 15 feet, for us to even get recognition, we have to build a bridge that's 300 feet and twice as high.
You can go into a grocery store. You can go into an amusement park. You can go anywhere and be mistreated, and you'll be a victim today. We're not talking about the victimization only of the yesteryears. You can be a victim tomorrow. And I think if we're all honest, we have been in places where you have been the victim. That's right. You were either wrongly accused or wrongly criticized, or maybe let's not even make it a negative thing. Looked over for a job unjustly. It's happening. So there's a rationale to the relevancy of still being victimized.
Black people have never been in charge of any system.
Actually, we have been.
No, we've never been in charge of any
May I finish?
system. Tell me, what financial system are black people in charge of? What healthcare system are black people in charge of? What government system are black people in charge of?
I'm about ready to tell you.
What prison system are black people in charge of?
Family, as a community, you can't gather the people you love and say, let's get us out of this.
Correct.
And then you could say, well, we're no longer playing the victim. We took pride and took our own responsibility. And then you can build all that up, and tomorrow you can go somewhere and still be disrespected.
Do you know what happened in the 1900s? Y'all give Native Americans so much blood clot grace. because, oh, their land was stolen. Y'all don't think that millions of acres of farmland was stolen from us? Our communities were flooded way after slavery was abolished. So they do owe us something. The Jewish community has gotten reparations. Hell, people that own slaves got reparations, yet we don't deserve it.
I could be an extremely successful black man in today's America and still go somewhere tomorrow and be looked down upon because of what I look like.
Yes, there is a bit of frustration, because whenever we fight for something that's based on equality, that's based on rights, even our own culture, everyone jumps in front, takes a piece of it.
You're talking about owners only giving land to specific races. That's generational wealth. Yeah. You're talking about bank loans only being given to specific races.
How can
that's generational wealth. Right. So we can't. It's not even like this is ancient history. That's what blows my mind. This is recent history.
But do we play the victim? Mm-hmm. And I think that's very different. You're aware of the things that have happened, but are you victimized as a result of it? So, do you say, this is what I can do with what I have been allotted, or whatever my place in life is? Are we playing the victim is the question.
So I think we have to define play the victim. Okay. I think we are the victim.
Because anybody can be a victim.
I think we are factually a victim. Playing the victim, like when you hear that, like what does that trigger for you? Play the victim means I'm acting like something is being done to me that's not being done to me.
Or always complaining. That's what I hear. Always complaining about our history.
That's what I hear when I hear play the victim. Like you're taking the position that something being done to you and nothing's being done to you. That's somebody playing a victim to me.
This is what I hear.
And that's not the case to me.
This is what I hear.
Yeah.
Stop talking about it. We're all equal now. You should be ahead you should be further than where you're at. Stop talking about the old days.
We weren't given an opportunity basically to build that generational wealth. And without that opportunity, we don't own anything.
An African gentleman walked up to me, said, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "No problem." He says, "I want to understand why black Americans are so angry. Why you hate this country. This is a great country. I've been here for 6 or 7 years. You guys need to respect and be proud that you're here." I said, "Okay. All right." Now, he asked it in a respectful way. I said, I'm gonna answer your question, sir, but I'm gonna answer your question, black man to black man. He says, "But I'm African." I said, "Okay. I'm still gonna keep this respectful." I says, "You say you've been here for 6 or 7 years." I said, "The reason you are able to come here and do what you're doing, live the life that you're living right now, is because of black Americans. That's why. Because it was our great-grandfather, great-great-grandmothers who fought for the rights for you to be able to be in this country and do the things that you're doing now." I said, "You walked in this restaurant, you came through the front door, you didn't have to go to the back. The fact they're even serving you is because of what black American ancestors did." I said, "You say that we seem angry and we seem upset." I said, "Because even though you may not intend it for your comment to be disrespectful," I said, "it does come across as disrespectful." I said, "Because other people come to this country from different places and they don't want to acknowledge that black Americans are the ones who fought for everything that you're enjoying right now." I don't hate YT people. I don't hate Palm people. I don't hate anybody. It's not worth my energy or my time. But I got love for my fellow black people. I want to see them succeed. We don't have the resources that other groups do. There is some frustration within the black American community because everybody's taking from us, but nobody's acknowledging us. Nobody wants to give us just credit. I said, "Have you been to school here?" He was like, "I went to school in Africa." I said, "Okay." He's from Ethiopia. I said, "You got to understand something." I said, "Our history is not taught to us. We have to excavate our history. They can do a little digging for their history. But our history has been wiped clean. So for us, I said, even you, the way you're talking now, you don't see us as fellow blacks because you put a difference between us. That you're African, I'm black. Cool. I said, you have to understand that that's what we face every day. That's what we deal with. So the fact that other people come here and benefit from what we fight for, what we march for, what we're trying to get done now. Every community benefits and gets laws passed and gets things done above the black community. So that was my response to him. I just kind of let it go right there because you can just see when a conversation is just like, he's just not getting it. Just not getting it. But it is what it is, man. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people think that it's hate. No, it's not hate. We've always just wanted to be accepted as humans, as individuals. That's it. That's it. We're not asking for nothing.
I think that America is a dream in comparison to a lot of countries. Okay? A lot of countries, you know, they're in their home countries and they're making like $2 an hour, right? Which is freaking unheard of in America. I mean, not really, because still in some states minimum wage is like $7.50, right? Which is really not enough to live on. Like America has areas of extreme poverty, okay? And then we have like the middle class, we have the upper, you know, middle class, and then we have like the wealthy people, right? But what I don't think that people understand, Caribbeans, Africans, and even Latinos as well, about America is that I'm gonna use an analogy. If you see a relationship, right, and you say, "Oh, that woman, she cooks, she cleans, for him, she's a good-looking woman," etc., etc., but you don't go home and see that she verbally abuses him, and she tears him down, and she puts her hands on him when nobody's looking. You just look at the Instagram pictures, right? You just look at the TikTok videos where you see them on a trip to Barbados, you know, and it looks nice, right? On the flip side, if it's a woman who's being abused by a man, you say, "Oh my gosh, they have such a great marriage. She married her. Look, they're dancing together. They're having a good time. He bought her a Birkin bag, and he took her here, he took her there." But you don't see that he's grabbing her by her hair and dragging her down the stairs, and blacking her eye and kicking her in the ribs, okay? Because for whatever reason, right? Right. What Black Americans are talking about is unfairness, okay? We're talking about things that are unfair, right? And I would say that I'm going to try to find a way to make this relatable. You have a sibling, right? It's you and it's your sister or your brother. And your mom comes home, right? Your mom and your dad, they come home and they constantly give things to your sister or brother. They constantly give them extra food. They give them extra money. When they ask to go somewhere, they say, "Yeah, you can go there. It's perfectly fine." They never yell at them. They never hit them. They never mistreat them. They never make them stand at the wall and face the wall. They never do any of that. When they make a mistake or something like that, your parents are very understanding of the mistakes that they make. But when it comes to you and you do something, your parents give you less than they give that sibling, right? And your parents beat you, right? They hit you, they yell at you, they scream at you, they call you all kinds of names. Would you be okay with that, or would you complain and say, "Well, there's nothing for me to complain about because I have a roof over my head. At least they gave me some food. They didn't give me as much food as they gave my sibling, but at least they gave me something. They don't give me as nice of clothes as they give my sibling, but at least I have clothes to wear." Would you be okay with that? How long do you think you would be okay with that before you start saying, "What the heck is going on here? Why are you treating me this way? You don't treat my sibling like that." We come from the same place. We both come from you guys. We have the same parents. Why you treat me like this? You don't treat them like that. How long would you tolerate that? How long would you tolerate that? Be honest. Be honest. Caribbeans, Africans, Latinos, be honest. How long would you tolerate that? And yes, you can work hard and you can work your way up to the top and you can eventually move out of your parents' house, right? And you can move and you can be on your own, right? That's how y'all view when you achieve the American dream. Yes, you have to go through all that and you might have to work a little harder, but if you work harder, you can do it. Yes, you can do it, but should you? Is it fair for you to have a much more difficult time of achieving the American dream when you see a person that's right next to you that gets a complete pass? They get a whole breeze. People, the red carpet is just rolled out for them of accessing the American dream. Is it fair? Is it fair for you as an immigrant person to have to clean toilets and do all of this stuff and you see someone who does not have to do any of that? Is that fair? Is that fair? Is it fair for you to see someone who has all of this privilege and you just don't have access to that because of what you look like? Is that fair? Is that fair? So no, Black Americans do not complain. Black Americans are not complaining. Black Americans are marching for justice and fighting for freedom and fighting for equality. The same way that our elders fought for equality for y'all to have civil rights. For y'all to come here and not be in the Jim Crow segregation in South that existed in the 1950s. Okay? The same way that our ancestors and elders fought for us to not even be in slavery. Okay? If it was not for Black Americans complaining, nobody would be able to come here and have shit. That's the truth. And until y'all understand that, y'all will never understand Black American people.
If Black Americans didn't complain, y'all wouldn't have no opportunity to come over here. Y'all wouldn't be able to work if we didn't complain. If we just sat down and took everything that was given to us, if we stayed in shackles, if we stayed with Jim Crow, if we stayed walking outside potentially getting lynched and getting pop out in the street with no consequence, if we didn't fight back, if we didn't complain, y'all wouldn't be able to come over here and ride off the back of all of the things that we fought and complained about. Now, I know that this is really annoys me because y'all really come over here and y'all don't recognize that y'all are only able to come over here because of the work that Black Americans put in, because of the strife, because of the blood, sweat, and tears. I feel like I'm saying the same thing continuously over and over, video by video, because y'all don't get it. Why do you think you could come over here and get an opportunity? How are you even able to conceive of an opportunity here? It's because you saw people with your same hue of complexion being successful. If Black Americans just laid down and took it and didn't say nothing and was in good yes men and good slaves and good bootlickers like y'all want us to be, like how y'all are in y'all's countries, that's why y'all still colonized, can't even go to y'all's beaches. If we was like that, you wouldn't be able to bring your Jamaican ass over here to get a better life. There will be no resources here for you. I feel like y'all literally need to be saying thank you. Y'all need to be saying thank you. It gets to a point. It gets to a point. And y'all swear y'all work so much harder and y'all are so much better and the model minorities and the better blacks. Why y'all don't apply all of that hard work, all of that we so better, all of that we don't complain? Why y'all don't apply that to building up your own countries? I don't understand. If y'all are so much better, y'all work so much harder, y'all just work. Why not work and apply that? It should, since you just work so hard, shouldn't that apply to where you live at? Shouldn't you be able to apply that same hard work ethic to building up your own country? Because if Johnny had 5 apples, I feel like this is just another way of looking down on Black Americans to say we're better. All they do is complain. They don't appreciate anything. Y'all act like people just, like white people just woke up one day and said, oh my God, I think I feel like being a good white today. We're going to just free the slaves. I feel like being a good white today. We're going to just give them all of these benefits. We're going to just allow them to go to college. We're going to just, oh my God, I feel like being a good white. We're just going to let these people walk around freely and have opportunity. No, we had to fight and work. We had to work. I don't know why y'all think that we just got these opportunities magically, like they just magically fell out of the sky. Like somebody just gave us something. It's a big misconception that somebody just gave Black Americans something. We had to work. I just uploaded a video from a woman in 1968. They were burning down 40 to 50 churches, bombing them in the 60s. That's not that long ago. They was lynching us in the street in the 1900s. They was eating us in this country. The fact that we fought and stood up and complained is the only reason why immigrants could bring their asses over here right now and have a better life. We paved the way.
So I remember when Black Americans were referring to African braiders as the Africans, saying the Africans played in my hair, then African people were saying, we actually don't like when you refer to us using the term Africans because it feels a bit derogatory, and the tone and the way in which you're using it feels derogatory, to which Black Americans like, it's never been derogatory before, how is it derogatory? And it became a whole thing. And then Africans had to explain to Americans how referring to them as the Africans and African braiding shops can be seen as derogatory to some people, and had to explain African identity, especially how it's perceived in America and the reason to why that is offensive. I remember another time there were videos where Black Americans were trying African food and made like a massive show of showing how disgusting they found it and how gross it was. Africans responded to that by saying, you guys eat soul food, which fine, mean, whatever, talking about how soul food is unhealthy. And then Black Americans replied talking about, that's so disrespectful, you don't know the history of the food, you don't know like the history of slavery, this, that, the other, we had to eat this, we had no choice. But did you not think about the history of the African dishes which Black Americans were disrespecting? What? There was another time where Black Americans said that Black British people eat disgusting British food, which is horrific, and this and that and the other, talking about beans on toast, full English breakfast and roasts and some other like mashed potatoes and random stuff like that, to which Black British people explained, you don't have a clear understanding of blackness in the UK, because most Black people in the UK are from Afro-Caribbean descent, meaning that we eat our home country's meals mostly, but we also do enjoy British food. And then again, we were talking about, well, you guys have soul food for breakfast. And then once again, it's Black Americans are now the victims because we're being racist, when you were the first ones that came and talked about our food. Another time, Black Americans, or Americans in general, actually, I don't think it was just Black Americans, but Americans in general were saying how disgusting Chinese takeaway looks and how racist it is to call a Chinese takeaway a Chinese, to which Asians or East Asians living in the UK, specifically Chinese people living in the UK, had to then reply saying how racist it was to call that food disgusting, when Chinese immigrants that came to the UK and made Chinese takeaways had to create that food as a means of survival to cater to the British taste, and to call it disgusting was really kind of like xenophobic and showed a complete disregard or misunderstanding of UK, like, East Asian experiences. There is another example, woman. Now with this Black Scottish thing, every Black person across the world, seemingly outside of America, seems to understand how migration patterns work. So what Black people globally are explaining is that, as opposed to slavery, where Black people were forcibly moved to the Americas, and then specifically in the USA after slavery was abolished, although most Black people lived in the South, there were very specific hotspots where it was mainly safe for Black people to live, and so Black Americans mainly congregated in those spaces. Those aren't how migration patterns work for all different groups of Black people. And so most other Black people understand that whilst slavery migration patterns happen in a very specific way, so it's normal for Black people to be shocked that Black people live outside of those hotspots for Black Americans, when Africans and Afro-Caribbeans migrate, they sometimes migrate to hotspots, but Africans don't also all have an understanding of where is safe, where isn't safe, where is white, where is Black, or even have a care, because that's not a part of history of like having to, like, if you live in Africa and you're moving to the UK or you're moving to any other country, you might not necessarily know how good or bad racism is in any one specific place, so you can move anywhere. Most black people outside of America, or most like Afro-Caribbean people, understand the fact that you will have family in the most random places. Like one of my mum's best friends lives in fucking Oman. Like, and like, I know I have cousins that live all across the world. So it's not surprising, shocking, exciting for us to find out that black people live in different countries, because we know that, because we have an understanding of how Afro-Caribbean migration patterns work, which is that they're pretty sporadic, versus black Americans don't seem to have an understanding as to how Afro-Caribbean migration patterns work, which is why they would be excited or surprised or shocked that those people exist. And regardless of whether or not certain groups of black people come up on my For You page, I wouldn't be excited, because it's just general knowledge. Like, it's not about an education system, it's not about school systems failing. General knowledge of how Afro-Caribbean like migration patterns work is why people outside of America aren't shocked to find out that black people live in Scotland. So I think that sums everything up. But once again, black British people weren't even being rude. We were just saying, oh, like, why are you surprised? And then black Americans are saying we're now shitting on them, or whatever was being said, that we're showing hatefulness, that we don't let them have a fun time. It's funny to us that that's not a general point of knowledge, that black people exist everywhere. Or like, there's no need to be excited. And this is not to say that I don't think black Scottish people should get their shine. They 100% should. But like, it's not surprising. But black Americans are also denying or refusing to acknowledge the fact that in that discussion, a lot of them were saying that they believed black Scottish people to be Aboriginal to Scotland, that they didn't want black Scottish people to let Africans steal everything that they have, and that they're so much nicer than black British people, when technically, in terms of nationality, black Scottish people are black British, even if they don't identify as that. And yeah, black Scottish people and black British people do have different cultures. But black Americans don't understand that. They weren't talking about that. They were just talking about the fact, they were just trying to create a divide in some weird, like, triangulation tactic to separate black Brits and black Scots, when black Scots are black Brits by nationality. So there are so many other examples of where black Americans, like the Tyler situation, they insert themselves into someone else's area, place, blackness, identity, and then when they're corrected and it's explained that they have a lack of education and understanding and knowledge because they are American, not because they're black, because they're American, then now they're the victims. And it's a constant thing. And this constant fight to make us talking about how uneducated black Americans are about blackness is really dangerous, because it is implying that the issue is blackness when it's not. It's Americanness. And it's like you're becoming the first defenders for American exceptionalism. Why are you defending that? No black British person is going to defend like poor British values, which black Brits also hold. Because we understand the negative values that we hold of Brits, and we talk about them when we discuss them, and we're happy to be called out on them. Elitism, sure. Like, being grumpy, sure. Being mean, sure. Complaining, sure. Like, all those things are very true. We would never deny them. So the denial that black Americans are under is really, like, it shows a lack of willingness to progress. Yeah, I think I've said everything.
I gotta say, I find it very ironic whenever black people play the victim card. Because if you actually take a look at it, the black people who are successful and they made it out the hood and they changed their lives forever, whether it's monetarily or just being successful in general, they never ever played the victim card. They never ever complained. They never ever complained about systemic racism. They never blamed white America for their shortcomings. But, let's give them the benefit of the doubt, right? Let's say that they did blame America for their shortcomings. Let's say they did blame the system for being, where they were at the time. Let's say they did complain about systemic racism. Let's say that they were discriminated against. Let's say that they were mistreated. Let's say that they were in fact called a Negro and a coon and, they'll never amount to anything in life. You know what they did with that information and all that stuff that people were saying to them? They put all that stuff in the back of their mind. They put all that stuff on the back burner and said, you know what? I'm going to put my head down and I'm going to grind my way to the top until I am out of the situation that I am in currently and onto bigger and higher heights at some point in my life. Because, there's one thing that black people in America need to understand, especially the younger generation. People like me, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm still very young myself. There is one important thing that you have to understand. Yes, there are going to be people who say things. Yes, there are going to be people who are racist. But guess what? I hate to break it to you. I don't make the rules. I just report them. Racism is going to forever be here. It's not going nowhere. It started way back whenever it started. And they abolished it in 1865 and it's still here. So it ain't going nowhere, bro. And that's a reality that young black Americans and black people need to understand. However, there's a flip side to the coin. And what you also must understand is that it's up to you to block all that noise out. It's up to you to look past those negative things and not listen to those negative things that people are saying. Whether it be the white man who is discriminating against you, or it's black people of your own kind, of your own skin color, telling you that the system is holding you back, systemic racism this, systemic racism that, institutionalized racism. Like, it's your job to block all that stuff out. It's your job to take care of you. Because unfortunately, in this situation, nobody has got you except for you, bro. And I genuinely think that if the younger generation, like I said, like myself, people my age, understand that, like, bro, your life will change drastically. Like, your outlook on life will be different, and most importantly, your success in life, bro, you're about to move mountains with whatever you're about to do, bro.
I grew up in the hood, Compton, California. I was ready to get the hell up out of there. And when I left, or even now, my mom's still alive, and I don't even like to go down there. When I do, I'm ready to haul ass back to where I live. You hear all these black nationalists, black power, black unity, and you don't even support some of the black businesses because they may not can compete. For an example, a person that may have a beauty supply store don't have all the products or merchandise that you need. And even if they did, if you can find it for $1 cheaper, you'll haul ass and you'll go drive 3-4 miles down the street to purchase that and not support it. So when y'all start talking about all this black unity, I don't even want to hear it, man, because I don't even want to live in a black neighborhood. I would not take my hard-earned dollars and go move in a black neighborhood. Why? Because I don't want to be some of you black folks is the ones that I would keep my eye more on than if I walk past a white guy. And I can say this because sometimes you go to work and you see other black guys, they won't even speak, man. They just mean mug you. But a white guy walk by, he'll speak. What was ironic about it, the same black guy that just mean mugged me, if a white guy spoke to him, he'll speak to them. Now, isn't that strange? So all this black unity, that's not going to happen in my lifetime. Probably won't never happen because you black folks don't take care of shit. And I'm not referring to the good black folks, the ones that's decent, that's not all into all this black power and all of that stuff, okay? That shit, people is making money off of you. I guarantee you, the people that's fronting all these black power movements, they getting paid from black folks, meaning they getting paid to keep your ass in the hamster wheel running around, pissed off. But I bet Al Sharpton, I bet he don't live in a black neighborhood. Bet he got a nice house. I bet most of your politicians, all of these that keep you riled up and angry and keep talking about slavery in the past, Black Wall Street, that's all you talk about. If black folks wants to build, go and build. Nobody is stopping you. Nobody is stopping you from building. If you choose to go build, go build. Don't get mad at somebody because they want to have a all-white neighborhood. The way y'all acting today, y'all acting like damn fools. That's all I got to say about that. If you want to build, black man, black woman, go build. If you want to go live in a black neighborhood, which I highly doubt, because, you know, when I lived in when I was growing up, we had to open, when we opened our garage to cut the grass, we had to open the garage and close the garage right back. All black neighborhood. Why? Because another black guy will be looking to steal from you. I choose to live in a mixed neighborhood, meaning that there's predominantly either going to be white or it's mixed. You know, it'd be one thing if you was the actual victim in slavery. You wasn't. The people that you accuse of being your oppressor, they're not here either. Or let me say that again. The people that you accuse of being your oppressor ain't oppressing you at all. You know, if you got obstacles or roadblocks, go around. Find another route. Don't be stopped. That's the way I see it. You know, stop wanting a handout. Do for me, do for me, do for me, do for me. That's what you guys sound like, a broken goddamn record. Obviously, Obama didn't think you needed nothing. He didn't think that you was being treated unfairly because he didn't do a damn thing for you. What he did do was for the Native American Indians because he felt like they was being treated unfairly. But if he thought black folks was being treated unfairly, why didn't he do something for black folks? You can bring up all the reasons. You can say this and that, or you don't know this and that. I'm giving you my perspective, my view on life, based on what I know. I ain't never claimed to know everything. Y'all can't build shit. You don't do right. You don't do right in business, some of you. Not all of you. Some of you that try to go out and hustle. And that's what you do. You hustle people. You don't do right in business. You got a merchandise, somebody go order from you online and take 15 damn days to get it. I remember having a guy go paint my car. I went to go check on my car. He riding down the street in my damn car. Ninja shit. You see? And you wonder why the world don't respect you. You know? They can't respect you when you keep having the same argument. You're still talking about the same shit. You're still saying the same damn thing. Your Democratic Party stopped the reparations. Abraham Lincoln and the Republican Party was going to give you reparations. But once he got assassinated, that Democratic president that came in struck it down. Your famous Democratic, liberal, socialist plantation of a damn party. And they still got shackles on your goddamn neck because you believe what they say. And you need to get out of your own racist mentality, your hatred that's in your heart towards white people. As long as you stay there, and I bet you're a Christian.
All right, let me break this down the way I see it. This whole conversation reminds me of something that is very simple. It is like someone just arrived in America maybe 5 or 6 years ago, right? They get a job, they're moving around, everything seems okay. And then they look at black Americans and they're like, why are y'all complaining so much? This place is full of opportunities. And to them, it makes sense. Because from their experience, America is working. But then they go talk to a black American who has been living there for their whole lives. And they are like, bro, you've just got here. You don't really know what is going on. That is really what this whole thing is. Two people looking at the same country, but from two completely different positions. Now let's talk about that black American guy in the clip who said, we ain't been through nothing. I'm gonna be honest, even though I'm not a black American, but I don't agree with that. Because yeah, he personally didn't go through slavery, and that is true. But to say that nothing affects him today, that is not real life in America. If your parents had money, connections, stability, you are starting life in a better position. If your parents struggled, didn't have much, couldn't build anything, you are starting from a different place. That is just facts. Everybody understands that. So when Black Americans say certain things still affects them, they're not just talking about emotions. They are talking about that starting point. And people like to jump straight to slavery like that is the only thing. No. It's everything that came after too. There were times Black people couldn't live in certain areas, couldn't get loans from banks, couldn't easily build wealth like white Americans. And today, these immigrants are asking, why are Black Americans still behind? Come on, you can't block people for years and then suddenly say, all right, catch up. That cannot happen. But at the same time, I'm not gonna sit here and say that everything is the system. There are real problems inside Black community. We all know that. Some of the stuff those guys were saying about accountability, about behavior are not completely wrong. But the issue is when people act like that is the only problem. That is where it becomes unfair, because now you are ignoring everything else and consider that issue, that problem that comes from the Black community. Let's talk about these immigrants for a second, because this is where most of the confusion is coming from. When these immigrants go to America, they go there with certain mindset. Hustle, work hard, build something, and that is good. But what they don't always realize is this. They're not entering the same situations as Black Americans. First of all, just getting into America is already a process. You need something, education, skills, money, or connections. Already you are not coming from the very bottom. And then you enter a country where certain rights already exist. You can work, move freely, go to school, start a business. But you've got to understand that those rights didn't just appear. That is what many of those Black American creators were trying to explain in those clips. They told immigrants that the reason why they can enter through the front door is because of Black Americans. And that is real, because if you go back in time, there were people who couldn't do that. So when these immigrants go to America and start saying, why are you complaining? It can come off disrespectful, even if they don't mean it like that, because they are enjoying something without fully understanding how it got there. Now let's talk about this victim mentality thing, because I think this is where everything gets twisted. When people say, stop playing victim, what they really mean most of the time is stop talking about it. That is what it sounds like. Because if something is real, then it is not playing. It is addressing it. Can some of these Black Americans overdo it? Yes. Can some of them use it as an excuse? Yes. But that does not mean that everything is fake. People take some examples and then try to apply it to everybody. Another thing that I really liked from those clips is that Black man who said that is not victimhood, it is memory. That is actually a very simple point. Because think about it. If something happened to your family, something serious, you're not just going to forget it like it's nothing. And if you are still seeing things today that remind you of that, of course you're going to talk about it. That is not weakness, that is just being aware. And then there is that part that was mentioned about kids growing up watching things on a TV. That is also true. You've got young Black American kids growing up constantly seeing people that look like them being unalived, arrested, and disrespected. That does something to their mind. You can't tire someone that has no effect. Even if you are strong, even if you are focused, it still registers. Let's also talk about accountability. I don't really want to ignore that part. There are situations where people need to take responsibility. There are things that need to change within Black American community too. But here is the difference. Accountability should not mean ignoring the reality. You can say we need to do better and at the same time say there are real challenges within our community. Then bring it back to something simple again. Imagine two people running a race. One people started earlier, had support, had a clear path. The other people started later, had obstacles, had to figure things out along the way. And at the end, the first person turns around and say, why are you slower than me? That is how this conversation sounds like sometimes. And that is why when Black Americans speak, it's not always about excuses. Sometimes it is just explaining the situation. And I think that is what a lot of these immigrants are missing. At the end of the day, Black Americans are not helpless. We see success everywhere. People are doing well, building businesses, becoming successful. So clearly it is not impossible. But just because something is possible does not mean that it is equal. When people ask, are they playing the victim? I think that the question is too simple because it ignores everything behind it. A better question would be, do you actually understand their experience? Or are you looking from the outside and making conclusions? If people were more honest about it, this conversation wouldn't be so heated all the time. Because right now, people are talking at each other, not listening. That is why it keeps going in circles. I want you to tell me, what do you think about this idea from immigrants that Black Americans have this victim mentality? What is your opinions? Drop them down there in the comment section. And if you have enjoyed watching this episode, remember to click on the like button. See you next time. Ciao.